I remember the early days of YouTube. Those were the good old days. I'm a gamer of sorts, and I was into web shows on YouTube that revolved around video games. One of my favorite series was something called Remember the Game, a series about obscure games narrated by YouTube user JHF Kiltron, who unfortunately deleted his channel. In October, though, he made an episode revolving around a banned computer game called Venting, all capital letters. The game apparently featured a lot of disturbing content, and has since been banned. I thought the story made for a good creepypasta article without actually being one. While I can't bring you the original video, I can give you a transcript. Remember this game? Venting? Hello. This is your video game wizard, here once again. Back in 2004, I was really into downloadable online games. There were many to pick from. Some I remember, some I don't. One that I will never forget, though, is Venting. At first, I never played it. The website I downloaded it from was very generic, and it didn't give off a sense of a fun game. Then a friend of mine who had played the game told me to not play it, and that it was the most frightening game he's ever played. I became curious and decided to download the game despite my friend's advice. Apparently the game came with backgrounds you can put on your computer. I'll get into that in a few minutes. It turned out to be a first-person shooter, and there were a lot of fun ones back in those days. The gameplay itself was not all that fun and extremely generic. It didn't look like the developers really put much effort into the game. It consisted of 12 levels, and all of them were basically the same level design. The environment was non-existent. The ground was in a 360-degree flat landscape with no textures. The sky was a light yellowish gray. The enemies were non-threatening and didn't do anything. They just stood there without any movement whatsoever, with the exception of occasional head turns. They were all the same 3D character model, just copied and pasted into the level. Each level had a different 3D model, and you were supposed to shoot them. Compared to modern violent games like San Andreas and Resident Evil 4, the game wasn't as graphic, but it lacked any of the multiple objectives as those games. You shoot the characters and they just fall down as little blood squirts, and the only objective to the whole game is to shoot people and nothing else. The sound in the game was also close to being non-existent. The only sound in the whole game is the song For Elise being played on a synthesizer over and over again. I was about to stop playing the game after the first level, but then I realized that the whole point of the game was to kill a certain number of people. After killing all the copy and paste characters in the first level, you would be given a free computer background. A screen that came up and read, "You killed 57 people. Click here for a free background." I clicked the button for the background and was horrified to see what the background was. It was a photo of a dead teenage boy laying in a grass field near a park bench. His body had 4 bullet holes in it. The creepy thing is the boy looked like the character model in the first level. The character model for the second level was an older, bald man. After beating the level, you're given another background. This time, it's a photo of a dead, bald man who looks like the character model in the second level. He also appeared to have bullet holes in him. His body was lying in a swimming pool. I wanted to stop, but it felt like something was making me continue. I felt like I was uncovering some kind of murder mystery. After beating all 12 levels, I was introduced with the only cutscene in the whole game. We see the landscape of dead bodies. Then we finally see the character you play as. It's revealed to be a stark white humanoid with no detail. Not even facial features. After shooting all these people, it points the gun at its face and pulls the trigger. When its body drops to the ground, if you listen closely, you can hear the faint sound of someone crying as text reads, "Game over," on the screen. I don't know why, but I saved the photos of the dead bodies. I gave them to my local police department. It turns out the game was developed by Jonathan Winston Banks, a self-loathing college game designer from North Carolina. The following day, after putting the game on the internet, he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He left behind a suicide note where he confessed to the deaths of 18 people. 12 of which were the people in the photos, of course. The website I downloaded the game from was deleted a week after reporting the photos to the police. The strange thing is that none of the people he killed were identified. I know I shouldn't do this, but disregarding the whole backstory, this game was the worst thing I have ever played. No competition, no gameplay, no nothing. The only two reasons to play this game is the whole backstory and to get a feeling of what it's like to see through the eyes of a sociopath. I won't give a rating. Knowing about the game, I can't give one. Anyway, that's the whole story. Hoped it was informative. Halloween is in a few days away, so I hope you have a good one. This is your Video Game Wizard, signing off.